Hello, everybody, and welcome to day 62 of the road to toucanchess.com. Yesterday, we finally managed to secure another win, so we're up to 1872. And today, it looks like we're going to play in 1835 from the United States. So let's go ahead, let's play e4. Our opponent plays e5, so we'll go into our Vienna position. When the knight comes out here, I do like to try and go for the copycat variation, but our opponent denies that with knight to f6. So at this point, we'll play d3. h6 is designed to stop our bishop from coming to g5, but no matter. What we will do here is we will play bishop to e3, stopping the bishop from coming here. The bishop rather comes out and attacks this knight. We will play knight to e2, defending our own knight. This does not work. And I think here we're just going to go ahead and castle. So, d6 gets blitzed out. Something I'm trying to keep an eye on is this pawn is pinned. And this knight is no longer stuck here. So if we really wanted, we could bring the knight out, attack this bishop. If we go knight out, knight takes, and we go pawn takes, this knight is forced back. What do we want to do here? If we go a3, I think we can force this off to an advantageous point to ourselves. So let's play a3. Our opponent takes. We're going to take back with this knight. And I think we're actually doing just fine here. We do have ideas, bringing our queen into the position. f4 is a tempting move, but I don't think it does enough just yet. Our opponent is somewhat preparing b5. But maybe here we play knight into the position. And if b5, we have knight takes, queen takes, bishop here, pinning this knight. If we move up into the position, I suppose our opponent could play knight to g4, attacking our bishop. But then are we threatening anything in particular? I don't think so just yet. So maybe instead, I am looking at moves like f4. I'm trying to see if we weaken this too much, and I don't see a way in which we do. f4, there is bishop to g4. So maybe we do try and remove this knight. Just put our knight on a strong square. If knight takes, we'll play bishop takes. The bishop comes out. Doesn't matter. Maybe not just yet. We could go knight takes here, bishop takes, and I'm assuming probably queen takes there. And then f4. So let's trade off into the endgame. And our opponent takes back with the pawn. So if we play f4, we are threatening to just snap this off. So we'll go f4. If takes, we're going to go with rook takes. I have ideas of bringing the queen into the position with queen to g4. I might want to play c3 to stop knight to d4. All right, our opponent targets here. I think we should be able to take once. Let's do that. Our opponent's knight comes in. I'm looking at queen to e2. And I don't see Queen e2 is the move knight to g4, but then h3 takes here. Let's go for that. Queen e2, and we'll pre-move this recapture. The knight does come in. I don't think this is a huge deal. Let's play h3. And everything is still held. And it's just a rook, and it's a heavy piece endgame. All right, the rook comes in. I think we're going to take once, force one of these two recaptures. If queen takes, the threat is obviously coming right down here. I think we actually have enough time to play d4. And if rook comes at here, are we in immediate danger? I don't think so. So we'll play d4. Probably c3 next to support our pawns. This e pawn is weak. This doesn't work, and this doesn't work. So c3, creating our pawn chain. Queen to f4. If we take, the rook comes up. Then we can maybe play rook to e1, threatening to push. There's no infiltration. And then we'll probably need to start working our king up into the position. Quite an interesting one here. It's really just going to be a test of can we play this endgame. So here, I think I like the idea of rook f1, rook takes, king up. We're going to bring our king here and end in this position. So let's take advantage of the pin. And it's essentially like we're challenging our opponent to a pawn endgame. Is we're trying to see who has the better technique. Is the way I like to view these positions. So here, I think it's more important to activate our king, and we can just take back here. Obviously, having the pawns together is a little bit more beneficial, but in this case, I think I would rather slow play it. The move g3 looks strong here to play h4. We do have an opportunity to isolate these pawns as well, but I think we're going to wait. So let's play g3. Play no slow. h5 seems like the proper move here. h4, the king is forced away. And then I think we might be able to, if we play b4, our opponent can play b5. If we play a4, a5, b4, takes. We do have g4, but then is there h6? No, because then g5, the king is forced away. So let's go g4, and let's try and get into the position a little bit. I think that's a very not great move. We're going to try and pass the move to our opponent. So I think I want to play b3. Or maybe we play a4 first. We have 2 minutes to figure this out to our opponent's 7:30. Our opponent now has to play with these pawns. If we take, maybe we do this first. Let's push this, stopping this pawn. And now these are all restricted. B4. Okay, we're going to walk our king into the position, king to G5. If I go king here, king up. B4. King G7. Oh man, how do we do this? B3. If I play H3, takes. King up. King here. Let's play H5. And now I'm just playing moves to stop my opponent from advancing the position. I have a minute 22 to figure this whole thing out. Let's play B3. Our opponent has to make a choice here. Actually, B4 was stronger. Let's play king to G6. King F6. King E6. B4. All right. Do we have any way through? If we walk our king all the way back, the opponent's going to follow. And I don't think there's any way to actually force something. I think it's just over. You're here. I just don't think we have enough. Yeah, I don't think we can wrap all the way around in time. So, GG's to our opponent. But let's go ahead, let's look at the end game. Let's see how we did. So, on today's date, we play with an 86.5 and our opponent played with an 86.4. After e4, e5, knight c3, we got into a pretty standard Vienna position where we know to play d3. Bishop to e3 was kind of my guess at the position. It really just targets some squares. It stops bishop to c5. So our opponent plays bishop to b4, knight to e2, castles and castles. And this position is even. Our pieces are all developed. I mean, it's just a chess position at this point. After d6, we played a3, kicking away the bishop, and we ended up getting our first imbalance where we had the knight for the bishop. After a6, knight to d5, bishop to e6. We opted to trade into this endgame, which is slightly wrong. I think a strong move we could have maybe gone for was even something like queen to d2 to create some pressure here. I also wonder if a move simply like h3 to stop the knight from coming in is any good, but alas, knight captures f6, queen captures, bishop captures, and we had f captures. So we now have another weakness where these pawns are doubled. We played f4, and it says we're just simply losing a pawn. And I thought that we could go ahead and just take here. And I was thinking rook takes is the next move. However, the engine evaluation says that here they can play queen captures b2, which I completely overlooked. I probably would have played rook to b1, giving up the a3 pawn, but then having some counterplay with maybe rook captures b7. But even here, it just says play rook captures f4, bishop captures f4, and the position is significantly worse for white because we're down that pawn. But alas, our opponent missed that, played queen to g6. We played f captures e5, knight captures e5, and queen to e2. Really just developing, developing our queen, getting onto a central square. After knight g4, h3 kicks it away, and we got into a heavy piece endgame where most of these are pretty even, but there's always some winning chances. After rook f6, we took the rook off. We played d4 to solidify our pawn center. Opponent played rook to f8, which precludes rook to f1. So instead, we played c3 to solidify our pawns. After queen to f4, queen captures, rook captures, and rook to e1. There's a very, very slight advantage, but it's really tough to find. Our opponent plays king f7. We opt to trade down into this pawn endgame, thinking that maybe we'll be able to trick our opponent. The two kings came into the center of the board. After king g5, I found g3, h5, and h4, forcing the king back. And at this point, I thought we did have some winning chances because we have more space than our opponent. But after this trade in g6, we did have one and only one winning move, which was d captures e5, d captures e5, and then I guess a4 to start stopping these pawns. However, I dismissed it because I was a little bit worried about king captures e5, and I now can just see that king to g5, and there's no way to stop this promotion. Our opponent can try and make those pawns, but very quickly our pawns are going to push forward to promotion. Now, mind you, at this point we had 3 minutes left on the clock. So instead, after g6, I played a4, thinking that by stopping their queenside pawns, that this would lead to a win for us. They played b5, missing the idea, and once again, we had to find d captures e5 check. A captures b5 was fine, but d5 was wrong. We had to play d captures for the millionth time in a row. I was also looking at moves like b4, but I thought that this was too slow. After this position, I guess c5 immediately wins, and we're not going to be able to stop this b pawn. So after d5, king to g7, we found the correct move with king g5, but we played h5. I guess we needed to play king to h6 here, and I thought our opponent can just kind of stay in the position, and now it wants us to try and find that zugzwang with b3, king to f7, king to h7, essentially trying to force the king back here. And now it even says just play king g8, which feels counterintuitive to come away from this pawn. But I suppose the idea is that if this pawn ever tries to push, we are going to, like, g5 takes. We are now at the base of their pawn chain, even though this is too slow, and we've immediately lost the advantage. So pawn endgames are hard. There's no doubt about that one. But g captures, king captures. We were trying to find the opposition here, and we unfortunately weren't able to find any progress here. I guess here our opponent did have a winning move with c6. And after takes, king takes here, d5. And there's nothing that we can do to stop this pawn. So we had our winning chances. Our opponent had their winning chances. And neither one of us found them. So I suppose we're going to call this our lucky day. We end with a draw. We drop down a little bit to 1871. But if you have any comments on how I played or ideas on how I can improve, leave it on down below. If you enjoyed the video, hit the like button. And then finally, if you're not yet subscribed, hit the subscribe button, and that makes sure that you won't miss any of my future content. And on that note, I will see you guys on the next episode.